Done. Done. All right, good afternoon, everyone. So, today we are going to start with the environment and where we will discuss the static part in next few days, 9 to 10 days, and then we will see the current affairs related to environment in the further segments. Right, so it will be like first I want to make sure one thing that your basics are very strong, because these days the kinds of questions that are being asked by UPSC is very generalistic in nature, right? So the more you will broaden your horizon, the more you will be able to mark the answer correctly, right? So we'll start from the very basics, and today I'm just going to give you the brief idea of environment and ecology. Basically, we have divided this entire environment section into 4 major modules. The very first module will be related to ecosystem and ecology, where we will talk about the basics of ecosystem, ecology, types of ecosystem, the functions of ecosystem, various other organisms, the types of species, right? The second module will be related to biodiversity. That will be very, very important for us to understand. Why? Because in biodiversity only, we will get to know about the various acts. The idea is the concepts should be very strong. One thing. Second, जो पूरा का पूरा ये मॉड्यूल है इन्वायरमेंट, दो इट लुक्स लाइक बहुत छोटा सा मॉड्यूल है, बट इसकी वास्टनेस बहुत ज़्यादा है और इसमें बहुत सारे एक्ट्स हैं, बहुत सारी बॉडीज हैं, बट उनके लिंकेजेस को कैसे क्रिएट करना है, दैट वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड. So when we will talk about Wildlife Protection Act, then we need to understand under the Wildlife Protection Act, there are 4 major bodies that has been created. Central Zoo Authority has been created. National Board of Wildlife has been created. So we will cover it according to the basic idea कि जो relations जिन के साथ होंगे, that connection needs to be made sure, so that you will be basically comfortable in remembering things, right? One thing is this. Second, the third module will be related to climate change and negotiations, where basics of climate change. And if I ask you a very simple question now, I'll start the class with very simple question, whether carbon dioxide is a pollutant or not. The fourth module will be related to the pollution, right? Carbon dioxide is not a pollutant, but still, yes, carbon dioxide can be considered as a pollutant, right? Because carbon dioxide is a quantitative pollutant. Everybody knows that. No, yes, we all are sitting here, we all are exhaling out carbon dioxide, but we are not feeling suffocated. But the moment I will fill this classroom with 1,000 number of people, then definitely they all will be exhaling out the carbon dioxide. And if we are seeing the amount of carbon dioxide that persists in an environment is 0.03% naturally, but after industrial revolution, it has been increased significantly, 405 ppm. Earlier it was 300 ppm. Fair enough? इतना तो सबने पढ़ा हुआ है. So I am considering that you people know certain basics, and then I am considering कि थोड़ा सा उसको अलग लेवल पे लेके चलें. So naturally, if we talk about carbon dioxide is 300 ppm in our atmosphere. But after industrial revolution, by human intervention, we have increased the amount to 405, 410 ppm, and that would be seen in the IPCC report as well, the recent IPCC reports. And when the amount of carbon dioxide in a particular space will increase to 7%, then it will create the condition of suffocation. Then it will become the pollutant for us. So yes, carbon dioxide in a natural environment is not a pollutant, but a greenhouse gas. But after certain limit of carbon dioxide, it will become a pollutant, right? That's why if you will closely observe the air quality index, in air quality index, carbon dioxide is not included. Fair enough? Now, next idea is whether carbon monoxide is a pollutant or a greenhouse gas. Is a pollutant. Carbon monoxide is responsible for responsible for the global warming or not? Yes or no? Carbon monoxide. अब these are my questions that we will cater here. ठीक है, ये छोटी छोटी चीजें जो हमें नहीं पता होती हैं. Carbon monoxide is directly responsible for global warming or not? Then how it is a greenhouse gas then? Fair enough, you got your answer. One thing. Carbon monoxide is a pollutant in our atmosphere. Carbon monoxide is responsible for the production of ozone in troposphere, yes or no? Yes. Now understand this thing very, very carefully with me. Carbon monoxide, there are certain hydroxyl groups that do exist in our environment. Hydroxyl groups bole to OH groups. These hydroxyl groups are persisting in our environment and they are reducing the global warming impact. They are reducing the global warming effect. But the moment we will start releasing carbon monoxide to the atmosphere, the carbon monoxide, after reacting with these hydroxyl groups and various nitrogen oxides and volatile organic compounds, yes? Remember what are the volatile organic compounds? अरे आज सब महक रहे हैं यहाँ पे perfumes, nail paints, these all do contain what? The volatile organic compounds. Carbon monoxide, when always react with all these volatile organic compounds along with nitrogen oxides, reduces the hydroxyl components in the environment. When hydroxyl group or hydroxyl components will be reduced in the environment, definitely I can say one thing, the impact of global warming will increase. So carbon monoxide directly is not a greenhouse gas or is not directly impacting the global warming, but indirectly it is reducing the hydroxyl group and that's how it is increasing the global warming. So such kind of concepts we will cater in climate change and pollution. Right? So this is how we are going to cover the entire module, and rest of the things are related to what? Are related to the various acts such as NGT we will take care, and we will be observing the recent biological diversity amendment bills, Wildlife Protection Act में भी amendment अभी होने वाले, so we will cover that also. Right? So this would be the entire structure of the class, conjecture of the class. Today I am going to start with the very first scenario, very basic, that is environment and ecology. What is environment and what is ecology? What is ecosystem? What are the various types of ecosystem? Right? सबसे पहले अगर हम बात करें, there are three major spheres that we are surrounded with. That is lithosphere, hydrosphere and atmosphere. Make sure one thing, that all these spheres, nature has given us such a beautiful balance that these three spheres are playing a vital role in any organisms, in any species life. If I talk about lithosphere, lithosphere is something which is consisting of rocks, right? Which is consisting of rocks. Now see the balance, what nature has given us. If different types of rocks are there, with the different types of rocks, these rocks are containing different types of minerals. With different types of minerals, we can see these rocks will be responsible for the formation of a soil. So the soil will contain different types of minerals. When soil will contain different types of minerals, it will be able to produce different types of crops. If different types of crops will be there, our needs are different according to the seasons. Let's say if we talk about the summer season, during summers, मेरी body का water loss is comparatively high. Then we need what? We need cucumber, we need watermelon, we need muskmelon. So that kind of crops can be grown in the summer season. We call them as the zayed crops. That is possible just because of the fact that the soil had different minerals to support the different crops. एंड मोर ओवर, जब भी समर्स होंगे तब मेरी बॉडी में शुगर कंटेंट भी रिड्यूस होगा. अब शुगर कंटेंट रिड्यूस होगा, देन वी विल हैव मैंगो ड्यूरिंग दी समर सीजन. एंड जब ज्यादा मैंगो खा लोगे तो डायबिटीज हो जाएगा. सो टू सपोर्ट दिस वी हैव जामुन इन दी समर सीजन. So this is how nature has given us the balance of each and every crop in the form of different minerals. Despite being these minerals are there. So this is one aspect that we call as the aspect of lithosphere, which is consisting of various rocks, soil and all minerals. Second is the hydrosphere and third is the atmosphere. Atmosphere and hydrosphere, they both are coupled scenarios. Why is it so? If I say without the atmosphere, there is no possibility of hydrosphere, will this be the right statement? Yes or no? Without the atmosphere, there will be no hydrosphere that can exist. How and why? For the perpetuation of hydrosphere on this earth, atmosphere is needed. How? Because remember one thing is, Rainfall is the constant source. The major basic aspect is what I know is the boiling point. The boiling point of water is 100 degrees Celsius, but that is at 1 atmospheric pressure. Till the time atmosphere is there, atmosphere has kept and maintained an atmospheric pressure over this oceanic surface. If the atmosphere will be removed, this atmospheric pressure has been removed. If the atmospheric pressure has been removed, the boiling point of water will reduce and direct sunlight will evaporate the entire hydrosphere that we do see. So for the perpetuation of this hydrosphere, atmosphere is needed, not just the rainfall which is responsible for this hydrosphere to exist. Rather, this maintenance of the atmospheric pressure, it is also needed for the hydrosphere to exist, right? Moreover, we see there are various gases that do act as a blanket and that maintains the overall temperature over this earth. That is the aspect of atmosphere. But there is a junction, there is a zone, a constant interaction of lithosphere, hydrosphere and atmosphere where possibility of life can be seen. This is that junction and we call it as biosphere. So biosphere is that junction or that intersection point of lithosphere, hydrosphere and atmosphere where life can exist is termed as a biosphere. So if I am living here in this biosphere, if a species is here, I can say any small changes in lithosphere, hydrosphere and atmosphere can lead to changes in the biosphere. Isn't it? Because this biosphere is nothing but the intersection of all these spheres. That's why whenever we release certain gases in exceeding limit to the environment, to the atmosphere, biosphere is impacted. Whenever there will be problem of plastic in hydrosphere, the biosphere will be impacted. Whenever there will be problem related to volcanic activity or earthquake, something related to that in lithosphere, biosphere will be impacted. So there are small changes in all these because they have been, this biosphere is the place where जो भी intersection point है, ये इन तीनों का एक proportion है. An exact proportion of lithosphere, hydrosphere and atmosphere is resulting into the formation of a biosphere, and hence we can say small changes in all these spheres can lead to the changes in the biosphere. Fair enough, right? But now if I ask you a question, what is an environment then? What is an environment? This is what we have talked about, the biosphere. If a species is in biosphere, whatever is surrounding to this species, be in this living form or in the non-living form, because I am surrounded with air, I am surrounded with you people, I am surrounded with moisture content. Any species, the sum total of living as well as non-living organisms or non-living things around a species is known as environment. मेरे को किसी भी एक स्पीशी को रख लें, उसको सराउंड करने वाले बायोटिक एंड एबायोटिक कंपोनेंट्स, बायोटिक बोले तो लिविंग कंपोनेंट्स एंड एबायोटिक आर दी नॉन लिविंग कंपोनेंट्स, दे विल बी द पार्ट ऑफ माय environment. Fair enough? And when we talk about ecology and ecosystem, when these two words will be there, remember always one word must be there, that is the interaction. That is interaction. When I am saying environment is consisting of biotic and abiotic elements, when these biotic, abiotic elements are interacting with that species, they will form the ecosystem. And the study of that ecosystem would be termed as ecology. Fair enough? This is the definition hai. This definition is the bookish definition, but try and understand this definition in the form of certain कुछ अलग तरीके से प्रैक्टिकल प्रोस्पेक्ट से समझने की कोशिश करते हैं, एंड हाउ ऑल दीज थिंग्स एंड व्हाट इज द रोल ऑफ इकोलॉजिस्ट comes here that we try to understand. What happened sometimes before, there is a particular bird, I always take this example in my class, that is Amur falcon. Amur falcons, Amur is a river, where? Russia and China border. Amur falcons are there. Amur falcons, they are the migratory birds. They started migrating in the winter season. क्योंकि जो सीजन होते हैं इन बर्ड्स के, वन इज द विंटर सीजन, सेकंड इज द ब्रीडिंग सीजन एंड थर्ड इज द नॉन ब्रीडिंग सीजन. 3 पर्टिकुलर सीजन होता है किसी भी एक बर्ड का. अब ये विंटर सीजन में दीज अमूर फाल्कन्स have tried to escape from that Siberian और जो रशिया का रीजन है, बिकॉज ठंड बहुत ज्यादा है, वहां से माइग्रेट होके दे केम टू नागालैंड in India. When they came to Nagaland, they came here for the very first time. So the idea is, when Amur falcons was there in Russia, they were interacting with their environment. The Amur falcons were interacting with their environment. Environment bole to with interacting with the biotic as well as abiotic component of that region. The abiotic component changed because season changed, winter that interaction led them one thing to migrate from that place to the another place. One thing. When they came here in Nagaland, now their surroundings have changed. Their biotic and abiotic components have changed. Biotic components are living beings. हमें पता नहीं था ये कौन है. What we did? We killed them. 12,000 Amur falcons were killed. Because this is what? The changes in what? The interaction. This is what we call as the change in ecosystem. And who will study this? Ecologist. And this study will tell us what the changes have taken place, and now there is a need to conserve these species. We call them as migratory species. So that's how we will be leading to what? Convention on migratory species that we call as Bonn Convention. समझ में आया? This is the practical aspect, how we can see this idea of, you can say, the ecology, ecosystem, ecologist, and the environment. But to study this ecology, there are different approaches by which we can study ecology. One approach is autoecology and another one is synecology. सबने पढ़ा हुआ है? एक बात तो सबने पढ़ा ही हुआ है ना? मैं मान के चल रहा हूं ये बात, राइट? So what is autoecology? Autoecology is, can I say it is species specific? When we are considering only one individual and we are observing the interaction of that individual with the environment, that approach is autoecology. When we will see the population or group of organisms and how that group of organism is interacting with the environment, that approach is synecology. Fair enough? So अगर मैं मानता हूं कि मैं अकेला अपने environment के साथ, how I am interacting with this environment, that is my approach. Let's say if I'm going to the hills, then definitely जैसे जैसे मैं ऊपर जाता जाऊंगा, because of the reduction in pressure, air rare हो रही है, तो oxygen का amount will reduce. With the reduction in oxygen amount, what I will do is I'll start breathing fast, rapidly. This is my individual interaction with what? With the environment. But when we all are living here, how we are interacting with this environment, how different microorganisms are also here, when we are talking about in the form of population or a community, then we will see the approach is synecology. पहले हम स्टार्ट करेंगे सिनेकोलॉजी से, बिकॉज ऑटोइकोलॉजी थोड़ा सा तुमने पढ़ा भी होगा और बोरिंग एस्पेक्ट हो जाता है. फिर उसके बाद हम आते हैं इकोलॉजी के कुछ नियमों पे. ठीक है, समझ में आ रहा है सबको? जहां पे कोई डाउट है, यू कैन रेज योर हैंड एंड यू कैन आस्क मी. सी द वेरी फर्स्ट अप्रोच इज सिनेकोलॉजी दैट यू मस्ट हैव सीन इन योर नोटबुक्स in the form of biotic interactions. In the form of biotic interactions, the various types of biotic interactions that you must have seen, the interactions are competition, commensalism, yes or no? Yes, these all, predation, parasitism, these all interactions you must have seen, but they are nothing but one approach of ecology that we call as Synecology. So let's start first understanding the biotic interactions. घबराने का नहीं है, सारी चीज कवर करा के जाऊंगा, ऐसे कहीं ये ना सोचने लग जाना कि सीधा ये बायोटिक इंटरेक्शन पे कैसे चला गया। मुझे पता है कैसे मैंने तुम्हें लेके जाना है, तो वो मेरे पे छोड़ देना। So the biotic interactions are of two types. One is positive biotic interaction and another one is negative biotic interaction. Whenever the species are interacting, then if either one or both of them are getting benefited out of that interaction, either one or both are getting benefited out of that interaction, that we call as positive interaction, right? Second is the negative interaction. Either both or one of them is negatively impacted और उनके ऊपर बेनिफिट नहीं, rather नुकसान हो रहा हो, then it is the negative interaction. The positive interaction can be further classified as, the very first is mutualism and commensalism. Mutualism means when both are getting benefited. So I am right. Commensalism means when one is getting benefited but other is having no harm. Negative interactions are, first is predation. Predation means when one is getting benefited but another one is getting harmed. Second is parasitism. Same. पता मुझे फर्क होता है, प्रीडेशन में कोई मरेगा, पैरासाइटिज्म में कोई मरता नहीं है। समझ में आया? प्रीडेशन जब होगा तो एक आदमी को अपनी जान देनी पड़ेगी, पैरासाइटिज्म में वो नहीं होता। मेरे सर में जुएं हैं, वो पैरासाइट है, पार्ट वही है, ऑब्वियसली हार्म तो है ही ना, तो इसलिए वो डिफरेंस में अभी तो बहुत सारे इनके आगे डिफरेंट पार्ट्स लेके चलेंगे, हम डिटेल में बात करेंगे, तो थोड़ा सा अपने अरमानों को बचा के रखें, राइट? नेक्स्ट इज द अमेंसलिज्म. अमेंसलिज्म बोले तो वन इज गेटिंग हार्म, अनदर वन इज हैविंग नो इंपैक्ट. द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट इज competition. You all are here, let's see what happens, right? For competition what happens? शुरुआत करते हैं सबसे पहले म्यूचुअलिज्म से. म्यूचुअलिज्म इज ऑफ टू टाइप्स. वन वी कॉल एज सिम्बायोटिक एंड अनदर वन इज प्रोटो कोऑपरेशन. Symbiotic relationship and proto-cooperation, these are two words. Proto-cooperation और symbiotic में difference ही है, both are getting benefited. Symbiotic में इन्होंने एक दूसरे के साथ जीने मरने की कस्में खा रखी. जैसे कि if let's say we take the finest example of symbiotic relationship, that is coral reefs. Coral polyps are having the presence of an algae we call as zooxanthella. Zooxanthella is responsible for the formation of food and coral polyps are providing them the shelter, right? That's how both are living in symbiotic relationship. Can I say one thing, that first of all you need to understand something about corals as well. Corals are the polyps, these are the organisms. These organisms are fixed organisms in the aquatic ecosystem. If let's say I want to capture my food, I need to go here and there. I can go here and there and capture my food. But the problem with these coral polyps is they are fixed. If they are fixed, they cannot go to capture their food. What happens during the night time? Coral polyps have the tentacles. These tentacles elongate themselves during the night time, they stretch themselves to the night time, and they start capturing the microorganisms which will be there in and around these tentacles, जो उनकी surrounding में होंगे. This is one way of capturing food by the corals. But this is not sufficient, because this phenomenon of stretching the tentacles of these coral polyp occurs during the night time. How they will survive during daytime? With this, they have developed a mechanism, they have developed a symbiotic relationship. That symbiotic relationship is with an algae, and that algae resides in the tentacles of these corals. This algae during the daytime, with the help of sunlight, do the photosynthetic activity and start making food for this coral polyps. ठीक है, ऐसे करके ये survive करते हैं. But the moment these zooxanthellae will come out of this coral polyp, the source of food has now been cut off. That's how coral polyps will start dying then. This is the kind of relationship we call it as what? Symbiotic relationship between coral polyps and the zooxanthellae. Fair enough? Done. The second is proto-cooperation. Proto-cooperation means, please take down, proto-cooperation. Honeybee and flower. Honeybee and flower. You can see honeybee is responsible for the nectar. Flower के अंदर जो pollination का काम हो रहा है, the both are getting benefited. But अगर honeybee ने काम करना बंद कर दिया, क्या flower खत्म हो जाएगा? नहीं. समझ में आया? So this is how you can see mutualism. If the extreme form of mutualism we see, then it is what? Symbiotic relation, and second we call as proto-cooperation. Example is honeybee and flower. Right? So can I say, in this symbiotic relationship, this is obligatory for both of them to be with each other. Yes or no? That's why this kind of mutualism is also termed as obligate mutualism. Obligate mutualism. And the proto-cooperation is also termed as facultative mutualism. Facultative mutualism. Can you tell me one more thing here? Do you know what is aquaponics? What is aquaponics? What is hydroponics? When you are growing the plants without the soil, right? Then such techniques are termed as hydroponics. But how it is done and how the question can be asked, if I ask you aquaponics is what kind of biotic interaction, then you need to understand the procedure first. Let's say, first of all, let's understand the procedure how hydroponics is there. Hydroponics mein we are not using the soil, rather what we have done is we have one pipe, right? And this pipe, what I have taken is the coconut coir. Coconut coir, जो नीचे बचा हुआ coconut का part, right? And now in this coconut coir, I have placed some seeds. And this entire mechanism is attached from a tank, water tank. From this water tank, the water is being supplied to this pipe. Eventually, this coconut coir will also receive some water, and whatever minerals which are needed for the seed to sprout are there in this water. This mineral rich water is being supplied to these seeds. Eventually, after certain point of time, these seeds will sprout and they will start growing, right? And when the water will pass through this, we can again collect this water and we can reutilize it. Fair enough? This is the process, we call it as hydroponics. But what if I am having some fishes here? यहां पे मैंने कुछ इस टैंक में फिशेस भी डाल दी. अब बताओ ये कैसा रिलेशन होगा? Whatever waste this fish will create will be a nutrient. That nutrient will be given to plants. Whatever plants will be releasing, कुछ भी रिलीज करेगा, जो भी वेस्ट प्लांट का होगा, that will also contain some nutrient that will be given to fishes are getting benefited, plants are getting benefited. What kind of biotic interaction it is? Proto cooperation mutualism. That's how question can be asked, right? We have seen honey bee, ये वो पुराने बचपन के एग्जाम्पल हमने पढ़ा रहेगा, right? Such examples should be there in your mind, that you just need to think in one way that whether both are getting benefited, in what respect they are getting benefited, we need to understand that. Fair enough? Done. So this is one idea. Second, we call as the second type of interaction is, this is mutualism, symbolism, or the proto-cooperation? Proto-cooperation, facultative or obligatory? Facultative. Symbiosis is obligatory, right? Now the second interaction is commensalism, where one is getting benefited, other is having no harm, right? These kind of interaction you will find in the species in the areas of tropical regions, epiphytes, orchids, right? See what happens whenever we see the equatorial region. Equatorial region is having high heat and humidity. Fair enough? With high heat and humidity, the plant growth is rapid. So in the equatorial rainforest, if we see, then despite having large amount of rainfall, despite having abundance of sunlight, the limiting factor is still the sunlight, right? Limiting factor, always remember, will determine कि प्लांट को कैसे आगे बढ़ना है. जो भी हमारी लाइफ है, let's say if we talk about human beings even, we are always decided from the limiting factors. हमारी growth, हमारी biotic potential, everything will be decided on the basis of one thing, that is the limiting factor. So I am going to give you one simple example here. So there are two types of, you all must have read about the natural selection or Darwinism. Yes, Darwin talks about survival of the fittest, moreover survival of the fittest. There are two types of, always remember, whatever mutations, whatever changes that are taking place in our body, whatever changes are taking place in our body is because of one thing, that is mutation in the genes, right? Mutation in the genes. And if human genome project, if we go along with the human genome project, we know that there are 30,000 genes on one chromosome. 30,000 genes on one chromosome means, if let's say there is mutation on one gene, what would be the probability of that mutation? 1 by 30,000. So the probability is very less. For the variation in human beings, for the changes, and for these changes we need one thing, that is variation in the genes, and the probability of this is 1 by 30,000. अब एक बात ध्यान से सुनना, मैं ये कह रहा हूं कि we are selected, if we are selected and there are so many species around us, हम भी जी रहे हैं और हमारे साथ साथ बहुत सारी छोटे माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिजम्स भी जी रहे हैं. Who is having the more biotic potential? Humans or the microorganisms? अरे मर ना जाऊं मैं, ह्यूमंस 15 बच्चे पैदा कर सकता हूं ज्यादा से ज्यादा, 20 कर दूंगा. Microorganisms grow rapidly, isn't it? Their biotic potential is high, but हमारे biotic potential की इतनी क्षमता नहीं है. But how it is selected? Nature has selected the large animals on the basis of the carrying capacity of the ecosystem. Always remember, large animals are always selected ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ कैरिंग कैपेसिटी। अगर कैरिंग कैपेसिटी पे डिपेंडेंट नहीं होते हम, हमारी पॉपुलेशन बढ़ती रहती, अरे बढ़ती रहती ना। सो हु इज लिमिटिंग अस? दिस कैरिंग कैपेसिटी। दैट्स व्हाई ह्यूमंस आर ऑलवेज termed as K selected species. K selected species means we are selected on the basis of the carrying capacity of the ecosystem. The moment the population of large animals will increase, definitely it is going to impact and hamper the carrying capacity of that ecosystem, by considering a fact that you people still certainly know something about कैरिंग कैपेसिटी, राइट, कि कितने लोग सर्वाइव कर सकते हैं, बस इतना जान लें। सो अगर लार्ज एनिमल्स बढ़ जाएगा, दिस इज वन ऑफ द चीफ रीजन बाय विच री इंट्रोडक्शन ऑफ चीता was decided, right, according to the carrying capacity of the ecosystem, according to the ecological productivity of that ecosystem. This is decided that whether a large animal should be relocated to that place or not, because the large animals are always selected on the basis of the carrying capacity. And if I say microorganisms are increasing, अगर उनके इंक्रीज होने से कैरिंग कैपेसिटी पे कोई फर्क पड़ता है क्या? आज 100 चींटियां कल 200 हो जाएंगी, कितना इंपैक्ट डाल देंगी वो? नहीं ना। बट दे स्टिल आर इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर अस टू बी इन द इकोसिस्टम, बी इन द फूड चेन, बिकॉज एवरीबडी इज हैविंग देयर रोल, इजंट इट? अरे समझ में आ रहा है? अरे एलियन लैंग्वेज तो नहीं है, समझ में आ रहा है? सो उन चींटियों का भी तो रोल है हमारी लाइफ में। सो हाउ दे आर डिसाइडेड? दे आर सेलेक्टेड ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ देयर इसीलिए द स्मॉलर ऑर्गेनिजम्स विल हैव large biotic potential, and the large animals they will always be selected on the basis of the carrying capacity of the ecosystem. Remember this, right? That's why with this you can get to know about, and how we get to know about the answers of various questions that UPSC generally asks. The moment the size of any species increases, it gives them the advantage. It gives them the advantage. Why? Because we will be able to cope up with the challenges. Why? Because हमारे पास opportunities बढ़ जाती हैं resources को gather करने की, क्योंकि हम large हो गए, threaten कर सकते हैं दूसरे animals को, dominate कर सकते हैं, so that survival chances increases. Can I ask you a question? Every single time when a large body sized animal will be there, will it be always beneficial for that animal? Or it can be harmful for that animal as well. Remember, harmful का कारण क्या है? There is, देखो ये humans का, ध्यान से सुनना मेरी बात को, humans का जो size है, this size of human beings, that's why I'm saying nature has selected us accordingly. Why is it so? Because according to this selection, अगर मेरा size बहुत बड़ा हो जाएगा, such as dinosaurs, अगर डायनासोर्स के जाने का मैं सबसे बड़ा कारण मानूं, द मेजर चीफ रीजन वाज देयर साइज। विद साइज व्हाट हैपेंस? द लिटर साइज मींस द ऑफस्प्रिंग, जो ऑफस्प्रिंग है, द नंबर ऑफ ऑफस्प्रिंग रिड्यूसेस, बिकॉज वी आर द लार्ज एनिमल्स आर K selected. If number of offspring will reduce, one thing. Second, the more will be the size, the more will be the gestation period. The more will be the size, the more will be the gestation period. Hence, you can say elephant has 22 months of gestation period. Right? That's why question was asked in UPSC. पहले पूछा गया elephant से related ऐसा question. Right? Elephant का gestation period 22 महीने है, क्योंकि उनका size बहुत बड़ा है. जैसे जैसे साइज बढ़ता जाता है, जेस्टेशन पीरियड बढ़ता जाता है. जैसे जैसे जेस्टेशन पीरियड बढ़ेगा, उसके साथ साथ, व्हाई स्पेसिफिकली जेस्टेशन पीरियड इज 9 months फॉर ह्यूमन? व्हाई स्पेसिफिकली दिस 9 months only? Why not 45 days? Why not 22 months? What happens majorly when we are in the form of fetus or embryo? Internal organ development. Major development is of ब्रेन साइज के अकॉर्डिंग सब चीजें डिसाइड की जाती हैं. व्हाट हैपेंस द मोमेंट वी आर इन द वूम्ब ऑफ मदर, आवर ब्रेन स्टार्ट्स डेवलपिंग. ब्रेन डेवलप होना स्टार्ट होता है, इसका मतलब द ब्रेन साइज increases, the cranial capacity increases. If the gestation period will be 11 months, then the brain size will be comparatively more. then it will not be able to pass out through the pelvic girdle, और जो भी mother है उसकी womb से बाहर नहीं आ पाएगा. It will be very much difficult for the mother to give birth to that child. One thing, if the gestation period is less than 9 months, then the brain will not develop. Exactly, premature birth. So that's why the specific 9-month is there, because this is the aspect of the selection that nature has given us. That's what we call as the K type of selection on the basis of the carrying capacity. I hope you got this idea, right? We were talking about the commensalism. In commensalism, I was saying the limiting factor is what? The sunlight in the tropical area, in the equatorial region. The sunlight will determine what? The sunlight will determine who will grow much, right? इसी कारण से in equatorial region, dark, or you can say the thick dense canopy trees are observed. With this thick dense canopy, those trees which will receive the sunlight will grow. जिनको नहीं मिलेगा, they will not be able to grow. That's why in the equatorial region you will see the peculiar layered arrangement of trees can be observed, right? But there are certain you can say plants, they start growing on the stems of the trees. They start growing from the stem of the trees. Remember always, these plants do not take any kind of mineral and nutrient from this stem. They just need one thing, that is support. From this support, they start growing from this stem, and that's what we call as epiphytus, where such kind of interactions will be termed as what? Commensalism. Because this is getting benefited and the original tree is having no impact. No harm, no benefit, no impact. This is the kind of no nutrition is sucked up. Remember, कोई nutrition नहीं, कुछ नहीं, कोई nutrition नहीं लिया जाता. This is what we call as the commensalism. Can I ask you one more question? The scavengers are what type of interaction? Scavengers, vultures, commensalism. How? अरे जो मर गया उसका क्या आ जाना है? जो मर गया उसका क्या जाना है? वल्चर को तो खाना मिल रहा है ना. One is getting benefited and another is having no harm. So scavengers are also one of the example of what? The biotic commensalism biotic interaction. अब हम तो सिर्फ उन दोनों का इंटरेक्शन देख रहे हैं ना, है ना? मुझे सेम सवाल पहले भी पूछा गया है, क्योंकि जनरली हम कंफ्यूज हो जाते हैं कि हम किन के इंटरेक्शंस की बात करें. हम तो दो, एक इस पेड़ और इसकी बात कर रहे थे. वो वाली बात है जो डेड है और वल्चर है. इन्वायरमेंट को तो फायदा मिल ही रहा है डेफिनेटली. इसके होने से भी इन्वायरमेंट को फायदा मिलेगा. सबके सब इंटरेक्शन से इन्वायरमेंट को फायदा मिलेगा, राइट? एवरी इंटरेक्शन इज देयर टू मेंटेन द इकोसिस्टम, राइट? Every interaction will be there to maintain the ecosystem, right? अगर coral polyps नहीं है, then also environment will be impacted. So these all interactions are there to manage and maintain the ecosystem, right? The next is the second type of interaction, negative interaction. We'll start from the competition, then we'll move forward. Competition. Competition results into the harm of both the species. Both the species who are in the interaction, they are getting harmed out of competition, right? But here I can say one more thing, that whenever such competitions are there, this competition will not be able to survive for long duration. This competition is not permanent in nature. Whenever two species are in competition, either one will eliminate the other. Second, either or they will change their habitat. This is what can be explained, अब ध्यान से सुनना, this can be explained with the principle we call as Gauss's principle. The principle says competition exclusion principle. Competition exclusion principle means whenever, let's say, two species, we are talking about interspecies competition. Interspecies competition means both the species are different. Let's say tiger and lion, both are in competition with each other for a deer. What options they will have, what alternatives they will have, and what will happen? First of all, the very first thing would be whosoever will be fit will kill the other. The competition is excluded. Tiger will kill the lion or lion will kill the tiger? Tiger will kill the lion. Tiger is more powerful than a lion. Tiger can swim, tiger can climb, tiger can run. Lion cannot swim and lion cannot climb. Right? So tiger will kill the lion and competition will be excluded. Right? Moreover, what other alternatives they do have? The second alternative is they will change their territory. This is what we call as resource partitioning. Resource partitioning means टाइगर एंड लायन दोनों एक निश में नहीं रहेंगे, एक हैबिटेट में नहीं रहेंगे, दोनों अपना अपना एरिया बदल लेंगे. Then the third more alternative is there. The third alternative is they will change their structure. They will change their structure. Now understand, this is how the evolution principle can take place. Let's say we all talk about the herbivores. Herbivores are those who are dependent on the plants. But plants are of various types, such as grasses, herbs, shrubs, small trees, and large trees, long trees, right? Tall trees अगर बोलो तो. अब ये सारे के सारे क्या हैं? Plants हैं. And on all of these plants, herbivores are dependent. But can I say horse, rabbit, जिराफ, इन सब की डिपेंडेंस सब पे है या किसी एक पे है? स्पेसिफिक है. Every animal has their specific food niche. On grasses, grasshoppers will be dependent. Right? Rabbit and goat, they will be dependent on herbs and shrubs. Horses will be dependent on small trees. Giraffe will be dependent on the tall tree. Fair enough. But how they got to know? Let's say they all were living in an environment simultaneously. सारे रह रहे हैं. इस environment में मैं ये कहना चाहता हूं, they all will be competing with each other because all have their same food source. The very first alternative they had is they partitioned their resources. That's how we are saying grasshopper grass पे आ गया, इनके ऊपर आ गया, इन्होंने अपने क्या कर लिए? रिसोर्स पार्टीशन कर लिए. One more idea they have, there is the development of one another species out of them. Let's say environment changed. एक ऐसा एरिया जहां पे फॉरेस्ट है, वहां पे सारे के सारे जो ट्रीज हैं वो स्मॉल ट्रीज एंड लॉन्ग ट्रीज का कॉम्बिनेशन है. And in that area, horses are present. But suddenly, environment changed. Environment changed and these small trees जो हैं वो सारे खत्म हो गए. Then what will happen? There will be a competition. अब इसके लिए क्या करेंगे? The horses will start developing their neck. With this, some of the horses will convert themselves into giraffe. This is the beauty of nature. You must have seen one idea that is termed as speciation. Speciation means development of a new species. What is a species? What is the definition of a species? मेरा जेनेटिक मेकअप तेरे जेनेटिक मेकअप से सेम नहीं है. My genetic makeup is not similar to your genetic makeup. 99.9% we are similar. 0.01% we are different, but we are same species. What is a species then? Exactly. They can interbreed among themselves, but not here. Interbreed to give the fertile offspring. Then they will be termed as a species. Species is those individuals who can interbreed among themselves to provide a fertile offspring. Tiger and lion can interbreed and they will give the liger. They will give birth to the liger, but that liger is not fertile offspring. Mule is not fertile offspring. Right? There are certain things to specifically अगर हम बात करें to be considered as a new species. There are three conditions: interbreeding, offspring, fertility of that offspring. Sometimes it happens that first generation offspring is fertile, but the second generation offspring will not be fertile. That will also be one of the part of species का condition. समझ में आई मेरी बात? जिंदा हो पीछे? हाँ नहीं जिंदा हो? जिंदा? ओके चलो, ये होता है स्पीशीज. अब स्पीशिएशन का मतलब when one species develops itself into two different species. So this is how I have told you. Let's say this is a beautiful example of law of domestication of the species. I'm coming to that, but before that, understand this thing with me. If let's say tiger and lion both are competing with each other for a deer, they have one option to exclude the other, second alternative to change their habitat, third alternative is to change themselves. Change themselves so that the dependent on deer will be removed. Dependence on deer will be removed. That's how the three alternatives that was discussed by the Gosses under the competition interaction, which we call as competition exclusion principle. But remember one more thing here. This is what we are talking about, the interspecific competition. Interspecific competition, and that too you have said कि चलो ठीक है, इन दोनों से law of domestication कैसे आ जाता है? My simple question to you all is, wolf, dog and human all are having the same need, because we are also we can also eat carnivores, right? So उसमें अगर हम बात करें, why dog can be domesticated but wolf cannot be? Why dog can be domesticated but wolf cannot be? The idea is, in the process of evolution, what has happened? The law of domestication says, if all the organisms, all these species have similar need of their food, then either they will change their territory or they will change their food habits. If we talk about wolf loves meat, humans love meat, right? We cannot stay together. Dog also loves meat, but dog has changed the food habit from meat to the bones. That's why dogs can be domesticated. समझ में आया? So with the changing food habits, this is what is the aspect of competition. This is the application of the competition. Whenever there will be competition for the food resources, then you have to change either your form, you have to change your territory, your niche or your food habits so that you can survive there. But that competition will never be there for longer durations. समझ में आई बात? This is what the competition is. This is the interspecific competition or interspecies competition. What for the intraspecies competition? दो कुत्ते लड़ते हैं एक हड्डी के लिए. That is the intraspecies competition. तुम भी तो कर ही रहे हो. हाँ, वही बता रहा हूं कैसे होता है, वो उस पे आ रहा हूं और उसका इम्पैक्ट क्या है उस पे बात करते हैं. Intraspecies competition means when the similar species are fighting for the resources and the competition among themselves would be the intraspecies competition. जैसे कि मैंने बोला, दो डॉग्स एक हड्डी के लिए दौड़ रहे हैं, उनके बीच में कंपटीशन है, तो वो क्या करेंगे, अपनी टेरिटरी को मार्क कर लेंगे, एक कुत्ता दूसरे कुत्ते की टेरिटरी में नहीं आने देगा। ये सिंपल सा फंडा है लाइफ का, और तुम्हें मालूम भी है। इसीलिए गाड़ी के पीछे जब एक डॉग दौड़ेगा, वो एक लिमिट तक दौड़ेगा, उसको मालूम है, तुम्हें तुम्हें नहीं मालूम, उसको मालूम है उसने कहां तक जाके दौड़ना है, उसके बाद वो अपने आप वापस आ जाएगा, दूसरा स्टार्ट हो जाएगा जिसकी टेरिटरी होगी, राइट। ये सिंपल सिंपल सा फंडा है। बट अमंग द लायंस this is resulting into the reduction or the regulation of the population growth. I have discussed this part. पहले मैंने INA में शायद डिस्कस किया होगा। Lions are, there are certain species which are not you can say the social species. Lions always love to be alone, to be with their family only. They never allow the other lions to be the part of their group. And in this scenario, when let's say a lion, lioness, उनके दो कप्स सारे बढ़िया अपना जीवन चिल व्यतीत कर रहे हैं, बट कोई बाहर से दूसरा लायन इनकी टेरिटरी में आता है, then what happens? There would be a competition. That competition is intra-species competition. This intra-species competition will result into two parts. One, जो बाहर से आया उसको मार दिया, गेम ओवर। अगर उसने, जो बंदा जो बाहर से आया, उसने अगर इस वाले लायन को मार दिया, देन दिस लायन, द आउटसाइडर, विल किल द कप्स ऑफ द लायन एंड विल मेट विद द लायनेस। दैट्स हाउ द इंट्रा स्पीशी कॉम्पिटिशन लीड्स टू व्हाट? द रिडक्शन और द रेगुलेशन ऑफ द पॉपुलेशन ग्रोथ। ये अगर स्टेटमेंट आता है, देन यू शुड बी रेडी फॉर दैट। Then this type of competition is intra-species competition and interspecies competition. Done. Now the next aspect is the कौन सा है? commensalism, amensalism. Commensalism हो गया, amensalism. All right. So उससे पहले the idea of predation. Predation is when one is getting benefited and another is getting harmed, then it is predation. Similar scenario goes with the parasitism as well. So if we talk about predation, predation का example is deer and grass. ऐसे देख क्यों रहे हो, होगा कि नहीं होगा बताओ मुझे। टाइगर डियर तो बचपन मेरा अच्छा गुजरा है, तो मेरे को मालूम ही है। तो टाइगर and deer, this is the example, fine example of predation. Deer and grass is also the example of predation. Deer and grass. So when one species is getting benefited, other species is negatively impacted, then that is predation. Done. Next is the parasitism. The idea is same, but the parasitism is also of various types. One type of parasitism that you must have heard these days, brood parasitism. What is it? Cuckoo and cowbird. Cuckoo and bird. Now the पता है सबको? Right? So this is the idea of brood parasitism, where what happens, this cuckoo and cowbird, the both of them has the similar kind of eggs, right? What cuckoo does is, in the nest of cowbird, they leave their eggs, and the eggs are always reared by the cowbird throughout the life, जब तक वो बच्चे बाहर नहीं आ रहे हैं, right? This is what is termed as egg mimicry. When the eggs are similar, this is what we call as egg mimicry. And the moment the eggs are being reared and now incubated, उसके बाद जब बच्चा होगा, उसके बाद cuckoo will come and will throw the cowbird's egg. उनको नुकसान हो गया, समझ में आ गया? काउबर्ड के अंडे फेंक दिए, खुद के एग्स को लेके चले गए बच्चों को। This is what we call as brood parasitism. This is also termed as mafia hypothesis. Mafia hypothesis. Why is it so? Because by knowing a fact, अभी तक तो हम ये सोच रहे थे कि cow bird does not differentiate between the eggs of cuckoo and her own egg. But remember, if that cow bird gets to know about it, that there is a difference and these eggs are not mine, till that cow bird incubates it. Why is it so? Because he knows one thing, that when cuckoo will come, will entirely destroy the nest of the cowbird. So to prevent that destruction of nest, cowbird incubate these eggs. This is what we call as mafia hypothesis, and this is the type of parasitism which we call as brood parasitism. The second, another part of parasitism is facultative parasitism. Facultative parasitism, where death of host don't take place. Death of host don't take place. एक black coffee देना. Right? In this interaction, parasite is positively benefited, whereas the host is negatively impacted. Generally, if we talk about this does not lead to the death, and hence we can say irreversible loss of host cannot take place. Generally don't take place. Irreversible loss of the host do not take place. Right? This is what the idea of parasitism. अब और क्या रह गया? Commensalism. Commensalism is when one is getting harmed and another one is having no impact. That is what we call as commensalism. Example is eucalyptus tree. नहीं ना चाहते हुए भी इसको नुकसान हो रहा है. Right? So because of the shade of this tree cannot grow. So this is not getting anything. This is negatively harmed. This type of interaction is what we call as commensalism. So this is something we have seen, the idea of what? The biotic interactions in ecology. Now understand certain more things. Coming back to the idea, if we are talking about interaction, we need to understand what this interaction is and how this interaction is being studied. This interaction, the study of this interaction is what? The ecology. So there are certain laws of ecology that we need to understand, and for that we need to understand what are the various components. The components are biotic as well as abiotic components. Biotic components are of various types, such as पहला producers. Producers are the plants. इनके बारे में हम डिटेल में बात करेंगे. Photosynthetically active radiations and how the photosynthetic activity takes place. These producers are responsible for the production of their own food. That's why they are termed as autotrophs. They are termed as autotrophs. With the help of the chlorophyll they have, because of the chlorophyll, photosynthesis can take place among these plants. Now the question is, if you have seen the Christmas has just gone, if you have seen the Christmas tree and a mango tree, दोनों में से डार्क ग्रीन कलर का कौन है? Why? क्लोरोफिल ज्यादा है. क्यों? वहां सनलाइट नहीं है. That's why. Now understand. This is the idea. ऐसे करके दिमाग लगाने का. अब जैसे जैसे हम ट्रॉपिकल रीजन से टेम्परेट रीजन में जाएंगे. क्रिसमस ट्री इज नथिंग बट अ coniferous tree. Yes, it's a coniferous tree. In the coniferous tree, they are found in the higher latitudes. When they're found in the higher latitudes, the sunlight is comparatively less. So to make the food, they should have more chlorophyll so that photosynthetic activity can be more more present in these trees. That's why, because of the large presence of chlorophyll in them, they are comparatively more greener. And if you have seen the cactus ka plant, in the xerophytic vegetation, what happens then? Xerophytic vegetation, have you heard about it, right? Xerophytic is the desert type of vegetation, sclerophyll and xerophytic vegetation, right? So in the xerophytic vegetation, what happens when leaves are converting themselves into thorns? Leaves are converting themselves into thorns. फिर वो खाना कौन बनाएगा? खाना कौन बनाएगा? Stem. अरे इसीलिए देखो ध्यान से सुनने का है. This is radiation. This is something we call an adaptation of that xerophytic vegetation. In xerophytic vegetation, what happens whenever that tree, that plant is under high heat, scorching heat, sunlight is more, to save the water, the leaves are comparatively now shrinking, because to reduce their surface area so that they can limit the water loss through transpiration, evapotranspiration. इसी कारण से जो लीव्स हैं वो कम होती रहती हैं, छोटी होती रहती हैं, एक दिन वो कांटे में बदल जाती है. अब पहले जो भी खाना बनाने का काम कर रहा था, who was doing that? Leaves. Now leaves are not there, so plant को तो मर जाना चाहिए. The entire chlorophyll gets shifted to the stem. That's why you always see the xerophytic plants में जो stems हैं, they are more greener than the other parts. समझ में आया? So the entire food production is being done by the stems in xerophytic vegetation. They are the producers, right? We'll talk about them in detailed manner tomorrow. Second is dependent on these producers, primary consumers. We are the primary consumers. Humans are there. इस फूड चेन में हम ह्यूमंस को रखते हैं कभी? फूड चेन पढ़ा ना सबने? ह्यूमंस को रखते हैं हम कभी? रखते हैं? कहां पे? मैं तो नहीं हूं. मैं तो नहीं हूं. Omnivores, ना कार्निवोर्स. हाँ? So humans को रखते हैं कि नहीं? Humans are not there. Humans are not there in that food chain. वो तो हमने क्या किया, फूड चेन का पार्ट होता है. जो हम फूड चेन बनाते हैं, उस फूड चेन में ह्यूमंस को हम प्लेस नहीं करते हैं किसी भी ट्रॉफिक लेवल पे, क्योंकि हम खुद वेरी करते हैं ना. मंडे को कुछ हो रहा है, ट्यूसडे को कुछ हो रहा है ना. बचपन में कुछ और थे, बाद में कुछ हो रहे हैं, शादी से पहले कुछ और थे, बाद में कुछ और होंगे. सो आवर हैबिट्स, आवर फूड हैबिट्स आर नॉट फिक्स्ड. That's why we are not keeping humans in that food chain. Rather, humans are those who can impact that food chain. Right? Tomorrow when we will talk about the food chain, I'll discuss that part. So primary consumers are those who are dependent on these producers. We call them as herbivores, heterotrophs. Okay. Heterotrophs because they are not able to produce their food on their own. So herbivores. Third is secondary consumers, carnivores. Fourth is tertiary consumer, omnivores. Okay. The moment we are going to see the primary consumers to the secondary consumers to the tertiary consumers, the amount of energy that reaches to the another trophic level is very, very less. That is just 10% of the energy is transmitted from one trophic level to the other trophic level. What is a trophic level? Trophic level बोले तो position of an organism. Trophic means nutrition. Eutrophication पढ़ा है तुमने. Eutrophia is the condition of large nutrients. So trophic means nutrition. On the basis of nutrition, any organism has their fixed position in the food chain. That position of any organism according to the nutrition is termed as the trophic level of that organism. Fair enough? Trophic level मतलब position है किसी भी एक organism की. एक trophic level से दूसरे trophic level पे जाता जाऊंगा तो हमेशा what I can see is the moment I am going upward from one trophic level to the other, energy reduces. Only 10% of the energy is being passed from one trophic level to the other trophic level. That's why number of trophic levels are also fixed or also limited. ऐसा नहीं है कि 1 2 3 4 5 10 हो जाएंगे, नहीं है ऐसा. Because if 100 unit of energy has been produced by this producer, 10 unit will be there for available for the प्राइमरी कंज्यूमर. अगले के लिए 1, उसके बाद 0.1. सो एनर्जी हमेशा कम होती जाएगी. इसीलिए तुमने देखा होगा द नंबर ऑफ ऑर्गेनिजम्स आर ऑल्सो गेटिंग रिड्यूस्ड, राइट. इसीलिए जो बड़ा एनिमल है वो कम है. अरे समझ में आता है, करेंगे इस पर भी बात. दिस इज समथिंग वी कॉल एज द बायोटिक कंपोनेंट. फेयर इनफ. Second is the abiotic components. Abiotic components we have seen already, the lithosphere, hydrosphere and the atmosphere. They all are having the abiotic components such as rock, moisture, rainfall, clouds. These all are the part of what? The abiotic components. Now humans are, or any species is in constant interaction with this biotic and abiotic interaction. That's what we call as the ecosystem. Fair enough. That's what we call as the ecosystem. Now this ecosystem को study करने का एक जो study करते हैं, we call it as the ecology, and ecology has certain basic rules, some laws. The very first law of ecology says everything is connected to everything else. Everything is connected to everything else. This is the first law of ecology. It means फॉर द वेरी फर्स्ट टाइम जब मैंने क्लास स्टार्ट किया था तभी बोल दी थी ये बात कि जो भी हाइड्रोस्फेयर, एटमॉस्फेयर, बायोस्फेयर, लिथोस्फेयर, दे ऑल आर कनेक्टेड विद ईच अदर. एवरीथिंग इज कनेक्टेड विद एवरीथिंग एल्स मीन्स एनी ऑर्गेनिज्म, any species is in constant interaction and is in constant dependence on anyone else. Because in ecology we always say there is nothing we call as free lunch. There is nothing we call as free lunch means every species and organism has to do certain work for their survival. ये depend नहीं करता उनका size कितना मर्जी हो. There is nothing which is available in the form of a platter to any organism in ecology. That's how they all are interacting with each other for their survival. And the third rule is everything must go somewhere. Everything must go somewhere means whatever nature has given us, nature will take back that contribution. Nature will take back that contribution. Let's say if nature has, अगर हम humans की भी mythology में भी बात करते हैं कि हमने पंच तत्वों में विलीन हो जाना है, अरे होते हम पानी में बन जाएगा, क्या राख बन जाएगी, राइट. सॉइल में चले गए, सॉइल से वापस कुछ ग्रो होगा, उस सॉइल से कुछ ग्रो होके प्लांट बनेंगे, प्लांट से फिर कोई कुछ खाएगा, वो मर जाएगा, वापस ये सारा का सारा नेचर ने जो भी हमें दिया है in the form of soil. Nature has given us the nutrients. Those nutrients we have absorbed in the form of crops. In the form of crops, when we will die, we'll again meet to the soil, right? ऐसे ही अगर हम किसी और ऑर्गेनिज्म की बात करें, डॉग्स हैं या कोई भी और ऑर्गेनिज्म है, they will die, they will be decomposed by the microorganisms. If they will be decomposed by the microorganisms, again they will enrich the soil. The soil से वापस the entire contribution is nature is taking back the contribution in its form only sooner or later. It depends upon the nature. Nature has given us the carbon. Nature has given us the carbon. The carbon is stored in the various sedimentary rocks in the form of crude oil. But what we have done is that nature had the idea that this carbon will be released one day. Nature has stored it. But what we have done with the human interferences, we have extracted that. Second, everything is connected. And I'm saying that nature, whatever nature has given us, will take back the contribution. What does it mean? It means जो भी soil आया, microorganisms आए, they will biodegrade everything, right? अगर हम organic matters की बात करें तो. But what we have introduced is, इस पूरे के पूरे game में we have introduced plastic. In this entire game, we have introduced plastic into it. And with this plastic, the entire rule and laws of ecology will be changed now. How? Because earlier, these plastics cannot be biodegraded, right? And these plastics are made out of what? Petroleum रिजर्व से बनते हैं. सो इनका सोर्स तो पेट्रोलियम फॉसिल बेस्ड फ्यूल है, और उनसे हमने एक ऐसी चीज बना दी जिसको बायोडिग्रेड नहीं किया जा सकता. इट मींस नाउ नेचर कैन नॉट टेक द कंट्रीब्यूशन बैक. इट मींस इट विल स्टार्ट एक्यूमुलेटिंग इन द नेचर. When it will start accumulating in the nature, it will start harming the humans. That's where we have played with the nature by intervening, by interfering with certain aspects that cannot be biodegraded. Right now, there are various types of plastics that we have introduced that are biodegradable. But the biodegradable, nothing is there in this environment till date which is 100% biodegradable without any condition. Without any condition. There are biodegradable plastics which are bio-based. Biodegradable plastic which are bio-based, that we call them as bioplastics. These bioplastics can be biodegraded, but they require certain conditions. Certain temperature conditions, moisture condition, oxygen availability, and that's how the microorganisms will work on them. So though we are trying to find out the solution, but the harm we have already done to the nature is irreversible in nature, right? The next aspect is, this is what we call as the laws of ecology. But when we start reading the ecology, we should understand one aspect of ecology that we call as holism in ecology. Holism means we start from the species level. अगर हम बात करें, we all are made up of what? Cell से बनेगा, टिश्यू से, organ system से बीच में सिस्टम लगा लेना, ठीक है, ज्यादा लिखने का नहीं है मेरे को. ऑर्गन सिस्टम से इंडिविजुअल. These all are the part of biology. And above this individual, whatever we will read will be the part of ecology. That's what we call as holism in ecology. From individual to, we will say, the population to community to, yes, ecosystem to biome to biosphere. So what is the difference between, when I have told you what is an individual or a species? Species is something, those individuals who can interbreed with themselves and they will provide with the fertile offsprings. They will be considered as one species, one individual. The group of one species or similar individuals will be termed as population. Group of different populations will be termed as community. Group of community living and interacting with the biotic and abiotic component of that area is termed as ecosystem. If the similar conditions of ecosystems are present in different geographical locations, they all collectively be termed as biome. And जहां पे life possible है, that is biosphere. This is what we call as holism in ecology. राइट अब हम बात करते हैं, सबसे पहले इंडिविजुअल, पॉपुलेशन, कम्युनिटी में तो कुछ है ही नहीं. स्टार्ट करेंगे हम किससे? इकोसिस्टम से. इकोसिस्टम आर ऑफ टू टाइप्स. अरे समझ में तो आ रहा है? अगर किसी को लगे फास्ट चल रहा है, धीरे करने का, कुछ डिक्टेट करने का, कुछ चाहते हो रिटेन करने का है, तो मेरे को बता देना उसी समय. आई विल बी चेंजिंग अकॉर्डिंगली. Today is just an orientation towards what and how we are going to proceed towards the subject, right? So first of all, we are going to talk about the ecosystem, and ecosystem are of two types. One is terrestrial ecosystem, another one is aquatic ecosystem. Terrestrial ecosystem and aquatic ecosystem. Terrestrial ecosystems can be further classified into three major aspects. One is grasslands, forests, and deserts. Right? Aquatic ecosystem can be divided into freshwater aquatic ecosystem brackish water and saline water. बट उससे पहले इनको अगर हम फ्रेश वाटर की टर्म्स में बात करें, दिस कैन फर्दर बी क्लासिफाइड इनटू लॉटिक एंड लेंटिक. लॉटिक मींस फ्लोइंग. फ्लोइंग फ्रेश वाटर इकोसिस्टम मींस रिवर्स. लॉटिक फ्लोइंग है, ओ आता है उसमें, इसलिए लॉटिक है. स्टेगनेंट मींस लेक, इट मींस लेंटिक. राइट. लेंटिक फ्रेश वाटर इकोसिस्टम एग्जांपल इज lakes. Lotic example is rivers. Here you can see the seas, open oceans, gulf, bays, creeks, right? All of them will be termed as the saline aquatic ecosystem. We'll start with the grasslands. Then we'll be discussing the forest tomorrow, deserts, और ये सारे aquatic ecosystem की बात करेंगे. सबसे पहले अगर इनको समझना है these ecosystems को, can I say that these ecosystems can be termed, can be understood in the form of biomes as well? Isn't it? Right? If we see the entire earth, इस entire earth पे मुझे एक बात पता है, this is 0 degree, this is 10 degree. Right? This is the region, this is the zone, we call it as equatorial zone. This equatorial zone will be the zone of equatorial rain forest. Equatorial rain forest. Then this is the tropical region 10 to 30 degree, where in the western margin we are getting deserts. In the continental part we are having grasslands, and here we are having forest. Basically the deciduous forest or the monsoon type of climate. So one type of grassland are present here. If we see in the temperate part, then we will see again the some part of this grasslands can be seen. So these two grasslands we need to discuss. One we call as the tropical grasslands and another one are the temperate grasslands. The tropical grasslands, first of all, this is the region of 10 to 30 degree latitude. In this 10 to 30 degree latitude region, the prevalence of trade winds are there. Trade winds always blow from east to west. They are easterlies. Trade winds are easterlies. They blow from east to west. Let's say this is the part of any continent. In this continent, this is surrounded with what? The water. And I know that this continent is having the presence of onshore winds in the eastern margin. On the eastern margin of this continent, there will be the presence of onshore winds. Yes or no? Onshore winds means they are coming from ocean towards the continent. And I know that this is the tropical region. The winds are easterlies. Winds will be from east to west. So I can certainly say winds are blowing like this, from east to west. When winds are blowing from east to west, they are onshore for the eastern margin. It means these winds will be responsible for the large scale rainfall to the eastern margin of the continent. Fair enough. When rainfall amount will be large here, then definitely the presence of trees can be seen here in this region. The moment these winds are traveling further towards this continent, they will shed their moisture first here, then definitely in this region, the amount of moisture has been reduced, the amount of rainfall has been reduced. So definitely I won't get the trees now. What I will get is the presence of grasses. And the moment these winds will reach to the western margin, they will be having no moisture. That's why here you will have the presence of deserts. Fair enough. So the western margin is having the presence of deserts. The beach wala portion is having the presence of grasslands. यहाँ पे trees हैं. और यही वो depiction है जो मैंने यहाँ पे बताया तुम्हें. Right? यहाँ पे monsoon, forest थे, यहाँ पे grassland और यहाँ पे desert. ऊपर जैसे चेंज होगा, we'll talk about it. हाँ जी बोलिए.
Desert form
Yes, that is also one of the reason behind that. The idea is in this zone of western margin, the cold currents are also present, right? Moreover, this is the zone where air is getting subsided. So these three reasons cumulatively cause the formation of the desert here. Fair enough? If we talk about why majority of the deserts are found in the western margin of the continent, that too between 10 to 30 degree north and south latitude, the reasons are only three. One is the offshore trade winds. These are what? The offshore trade winds. Second is the subsidence of the air. And third is the presence of cold current. Right? So one of the reason is this only. Anji. तो वो तीनों एक बात बताओ, मेरा सवाल है तुमसे सिंपल सा. लेट्स से all of you have read the monsoon. Once you have read the monsoon, right? In India, monsoonal rainfall takes place with the southwestern winds. Fair enough. These southwestern winds are picking up the large scale moisture and are responsible for the rainfall. Fair enough. But the rainfall is possible till the time they are having an orographic barrier. If an orographic barrier will be there, then only rainfall will take place, isn't it? Otherwise, these winds are of no use. Fair enough. If we talk about this entire region, plain region, यूपी, बिहार, पंजाब, यहां तो कोई पहाड़ियां नहीं है, फिर बारिश कैसे हो जाती? मानसून के समय में बात कर रहा हूं मैं. मॉनसून के समय में मेरे सवाल का जवाब देना. सारी दुनिया ये सोच के चली जाती है, दे ऑल थिंक दैट व्हेन द साउथ वेस्टर्न मॉनसूनल विंड्स आर अप्रोचिंग, this is responsible for the rainfall to this part because they are getting orographic barrier in the form of Western Ghats. Then some of the parts of the winds are approaching to main part of India in the form of Bay of Bengal branch. And there, that Bay of Bengal branch is responsible for the rainfall. In northeastern part of India, it is suggested that there are presence of Garo, Khasi, and there are various hills that will be responsible for the rainfall. How come is it possible in UP, Bihar, Jharkhand, Jharkhand भी मान लेता हूं, छोटा नागपुर प्लेटू मिल गया, चलो मान लिया. Why in UP? Most flattest land of the world, 1 meter slope of around 3200 kilometers pe. You can see the horizon. That kind of flatness is there in the northern plains of India. How is it possible that these winds who are carrying the moisture, but how they are responsible for the rainfall? अरे मैं यहां बात कर रहा हूं यूपी में. थॉट अबाउट इट बिकॉज एवरीबडी थिंक्स सर रेनफॉल होता रहेगा, बढ़िया ग्राफ भी बनाते 100, 50, 40, 30, 20, बढ़िया चलता है लाइफ में. रिमेंबर देयर इज द प्रेजेंस ऑफ एन ITCZ. Whatever winds will be there, this is the zone of low pressure. Winds will rise. अरे समझ में आया? ITCZ is the convergence zone. No, ITCZ lies in the northern plains. ITCZ lies in the northern plains. Whatever winds will be approaching to this region will be converging to this part and will be rising, and that will be responsible for the rainfall. कोई barrier नहीं है. So it is not always the orographic rainfall that India receives. Right? Similarly, when you are going to talk about the grassland also, no, whatever winds are coming, because of the presence of that क्या नाम है, heat, that's how they will rise, and those winds will be responsible for the rainfall. No? हाँ बोल. Yes, tell me. No. Because this is the continental part, and along with that, the grasslands are these grasslands. The type of grasslands we are talking in the latitudes of 10 to 30 degree. We can see one thing very clearly, that is, these are the grasslands where sunlight is comparatively more and more abundant. इसीलिए वहां पे जो भी मॉइस्चर आ रहा है वो तो शेड हो जाएगा, बट यहां पे स्पेसिफिक एक सीजन नहीं होता. देयर इज नो स्पेसिफिक सीजन ऑफ रेनफॉल इन दी सवाना ग्रासलैंड्स. सच एज इफ वी टॉक अबाउट इंडिया, India has a specific season of rainfall, that is monsoon. इंडिया हैज 3 सीजन्स बेसिकली, ओवरऑल डिवाइड करें तो समर, विंटर एंड मॉनसूनल, राइट. अगर हम बात करते हैं इक्वेटोरियल क्लाइमेट की, दिस इक्वेटोरियल रीजन in the 0 to 10 there is only one season, that is rainy season. Rainy season. Savannas are characterized with distinct dry and wet climate. Summers are wet, winters are dry, but the जो precipitation है that is distributed in the entire summer. So in the summer sunlight is there, rainfall हो रहा है, but evaporation is also taking place at higher pace. That's why dense forests are not found. Second thing, in the British type of climate, एक सीजन कहां पे, इक्वेटोरियल क्लाइमेट में कितने सीजन, एक सीजन, कौन सा, रेनी. सवाना में 2, कौन कौन से, वेट एंड ड्राई. समर्स आर वेट, विंटर्स आर ड्राई. इंडिया में 3, मॉनसूनल टाइप ऑफ क्लाइमेट, 3 सीजन, समर, विंटर, मॉनसून. परफेक्ट टाइप ऑफ क्लाइमेट इज ब्रिटिश. 4 seasons are there, summer, winter, spring and autumn. जो चारों सीजन परफेक्टली डेवलप्ड हैं, that is in Britain. That's what the type of climate we call as British type of climate. So these are the grasslands, and here we have seen grasslands are there. Moreover, you are talking about the dense forest. The forest will not be dense, rather the evaporation and the heat is at such an extent, that these grasses will not be the nutritious one, and you will not find these grasses as the lushy green grasses that you will find in the temperate region. समझ में आता है? हो चिंता मेरे साथ? अरे चल रही है कहानी. अब बात ध्यान से सुनना, जिस तरीके से समझा रहा हूं शायद पहले भी समझाया होगा, तो अब इसको एक कनेक्शन में समझने की कोशिश करें. वेरी फर्स्ट थिंग, tropical region. Tropical region is having, in the continental part, rainfall is comparatively less, so you will have the presence of grasses. But sunlight is also in abundance. If sunlight is in abundance, then definitely I know a fact that these grasses will not be lushy green, because they will develop themselves into the yellowish in nature because of the large moisture loss. If large moisture loss will be there, the grasses will not be the soft one. The grasses are coarse, wiry, less nutritious in nature. Less nutritious, coarse and wiry grasses are there, right? If they are less nutritious, the cattle rearing cannot be done. Why is it so? Because for these grasses will not be suitable for the cattles. Hence the cattles will not be mulching here. If cattles are not mulching, then certainly I can say one thing, that this region will not be having the developed dairy industry. समझ में आई बात? Next aspect, if cattles are not mulching, then the tribes who are living here are depending on the bloods of the cattles, such as Masai tribe. Masai tribe सुना है सबने, ये तो मैंने पहले भी बताया. There is a national park termed as Masai Mara National Park of Kenya, one of the best national park in terms of habitat conservation. Masai Mara, inhabited with Masai tribes, one of the tallest tribe of the world, and depending entirely upon the blood of the cattles. Blood of the cattles, right? Now understand one more thing about these grasslands. These grasslands are not termed as true grasslands, because as he has said, yes, there will be the presence of what? Presence of trees, but these trees will be very, very scattered in nature. Why is it so? Because there is a continuous competition that is going on in between the grasses and the trees, because the limiting factor is water here. Now this water is limiting here. That's why grasses and trees are in continuous competition with each other. During the summer season, these grasses will become dry, and after getting dry, they will rub against each other and they will generate fire. They will generate fire. And if you will see the trees, on these trees, birds are there, and birds are carrying some of the seeds, and they are spreading these seeds in between the grasses. अब हो क्या रहा है? ट्री चाहता है मैं ग्रो करूं, ग्रासेस कहती है हम ग्रो नहीं करने देंगे, बिकॉज ट्रीज की वाटर डिमांड इज कंपैरेटिवली लार्ज. That's why what happens, if you will see, the trees ka seeds are spreaded in the grasses, but the moment these grasses will generate fire, the seeds of the trees will be burnt. But why not the grasses? How the grasses survive? Grasses are fire resistant and drought tolerant seeds. That's why grasses एक ऐसी grasses के seeds ऐसे होते हैं, अगर तुम देखोगे किसी भी जगह पे थोड़ा सा भी पानी हो जाएगा, घास उग जाती है, वो सबसे ज्यादा टॉलरेंट होते हैं. इसीलिए अगर हम बात करें, these grasses will have a natural mechanism to survive in these grasslands by generating fire. Fire is the natural mechanism by these grasses to make these ecosystem as grasslands only. That's why bushman fire in Australia is a very common fire. Fair enough. This is how they can maintain the ecosystem as the grassland ecosystem. Tomorrow when we will see the ecological succession, then also I will let you know about certain things, how grasslands are grasslands. Next aspect here is about the wildlife. How you will understand the kind of wildlife will be found here in this savanna grasslands. These savannas are the big grasslands. So they have the presence of large land for the big cats to roam here and there. That's why large animals, carnivores or omnivores, will be found here in the form of cheetah, leopard, tiger, lion, right? These all जो big cats हैं, they are found here in these savanna grasslands. If the large, these types of animals are there to survive. अब इनको सर्वाइवल इनके लिए किसके ऊपर है? इनका खाना भी तो होना चाहिए, बट जो इनका खाना है वो कैसे सर्वाइव करेंगे इनसे, और किस तरीके के ऑर्गेनिजम्स कैन सर्वाइव इन दीज ग्रासलैंड्स? वन, दोज हु कैन रन फास्ट. सेकेंड, हु आर हैविंग द स्ट्रेंथ, राइट. थर्ड, हु कैन कैमोफ्लॉज देमसेल्व्स. Those who can run fast is deer. Those who are having the strength, rhinos and elephants. Those who are having the potential to camouflage themselves, that is zebra. Zebra is the aspect. Zebra is nothing but a donkey. गधा ही है वो, मतलब वैसे नहीं, वैसे. अब वो वहां पे क्यों सर्वाइव कर पा रहा है? Because of the development of stripes. And moreover, if you will see the evolution of these cats also, these cats are nothing but the aspect of speciation only. Speciation का ही aspect है. Speciation क्या होता है? एक स्पीशी दो स्पीशीज में बदल जाए. वो तभी बदलेगी जब वो दोनों आपस में इंटरब्रीड करना बंद कर दें. तभी तुम उनको दो डिफरेंट स्पीशी कहेंगे ना. Then only they will be termed as two different species. Now what happened in the course of evolution, these tigers and lions did not have these straps or these जो भी इनके spots हैं, टाइगर के ऊपर जो spots हैं, leopards के ऊपर जो spots हैं, these spots were not there in the past. So what was happening in these savanna grasslands? In these savanna grasslands, these tigers and lions were spotted by their prey very easily. दिख जाएंगे बहुत जल्दी, इसीलिए इनका सर्वाइवल मुश्किल हुआ. देयर वॉज अ म्यूटेशन फॉर डेवलपमेंट ऑफ स्पॉट्स एंड स्ट्राइप्स, और उसमें नेचर ने सेलेक्ट किनको किया? जिनके ऊपर स्पॉट्स डेवलप हुए. दैट्स हाउ डिफरेंट. अब मान लो, ध्यान से सुनना, थोड़ी गहरी बात है, पता नहीं समझ पाओगे कि नहीं. मान लो दो स्पीशीज बनना है, मेरे अंदर कोई म्यूटेशन हुआ. लेट्स से देयर इज अ म्यूटेशन इन माय बॉडी, and that mutation is favorable, and favorable mutation is selected by nature. That's how I'm surviving. If I want to keep this mutation intact, then I need to isolate myself with the normal population, isn't it? If I will interbreed again, then अगली जनरेशन में फिर पता नहीं क्या हो, क्या पता वो म्यूटेशन जाए ना जाए. मान लो 5 लोग हैं 10 में से, ऐसे समझो 10 में से 100 लोग बैठे हैं, 100 में से 5 लोगों के अंदर म्यूटेशन हुआ, 5 लोगों में म्यूटेशन हुआ. अब वो 5 लोग अगर 95 से इंटरब्रीड करते रहेंगे, देयर इज वेरी लेस प्रोबेबिलिटी that this mutation will go in the next generation. But let's say if these 5 people isolate themselves and interbreed among themselves, then 100% inheritance will be there. Yes or no? And if this mutation is favorable, then this population will be more fitter than the other population. And ये survive होती रहेगी. एक समय ऐसा आएगा, this population will not be able to breed with the other population, will result into 2 species. Mutation, migration, isolation lead to speciation. Mutation, देख लो, mutation, migration, isolation, inbreeding समझते हैं? When they will interbreed among themselves only. This is not always resulting into the depression. Means sometimes it has been observed that when closely genetically related organisms will mate with each other, they will definitely have more chances of getting disease. But it is not always possible. ये 2 extreme end पे लेके जाता है. या तो बहुत अच्छी फिट पॉपुलेशन आ जाएगी या बहुत खराब पॉपुलेशन आ जाए. अगर जीन बहुत अच्छा है, chances are best population. In breeding, then it will lead to speciation. Tomorrow when we will meet, we'll talk about the allopatric, parapatric and sympatric speciation. Different तरीके का जो speciations होते हैं. Fair enough, right? So this is one idea. And we were talking about what? The grasslands, savanna grasslands, where these lion, zebra, अब वाइल्ड लाइफ याद रखना बहुत आसान है. Lion will be there, rhinos will be there, zebra will be there, deers will be there, right? Leopard, jaguar, koguar, ये जितनी big cats हैं, they will also be there. And moreover, I have told you one thing, that these regions have the presence of some scattered trees, and these scattered trees are of umbrella shaped. These umbrella shaped trees are there just to resist the environment, the air. Air को resistance देने के लिए they have the umbrella shaped. कौन खाएगा इनको इतनी ऊपर? Giraffe will also be here. So giraffe, zebra, this is what the wildlife of savanna grassland. Fair enough? समझ में आ गया? अब इसी को, ये ग्रासलैंड एक इकोसिस्टम है, इसके ऊपर के एक इकोसिस्टम को बात करते हैं, दैट इज नथिंग बट द टेम्परेट ग्रासलैंड. टेम्परेट ग्रासलैंड इज हैविंग द प्रेजेंस ऑफ comparatively less sunlight. Yes or no? Similar scenario is there. They are in between the continent. Whether winds are easterlies or westerlies, they will have less amount of moisture which is available. Fair enough? जमता इतना तो. अगर हवा ईस्ट से वेस्ट जा रही है, वेस्ट से ईस्ट जा रही है, बीच वाले पार्ट को क्या फर्क पड़ता? कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. बीच में तो ग्रासलैंड्स होंगे. So the impact would be of sunlight. If sunlight is comparatively less, then moisture loss is comparatively less. The grasses are softer. The grasses are more nutritious in nature in the savanna, in the temperate grasslands. And these temperate grasslands are known with the different names in different countries, in the different regions. Such as in the northern part of America, they are termed as prairies. In southern part of America, in Southern America, South America, if we see in the Argentina, they are termed as pampas. In the Australia, they are termed as downs. In New Zealand, Canterbury Plains. In Hungary, it is उस्ताज. सेंट्रल जो रशिया वाला जो रीजन है, दैट इज स्टेपे. दीज स्टेपेज आर प्रोवाइडिंग देम. पता हिस्ट्री कैसे रिलेटेड होता है? दीज आर द ग्रासलैंड्स. दीज स्टेपे और टेम्परेट ग्रासलैंड्स आर कंसीडर्ड एज द ट्रू ग्रासलैंड्स. They will not, you will not find trees here. such as in the savanna type of climate, we have found scattered trees here and there, but in these steppe, you will not find the trees. That's why they are termed as the true grasslands, nutritious grasses. Nutritious grasses means kettles will be there, kettles will be mulching, kettles will be mulching. It means the dairy industry will be very much developed. That's how the Canterbury Plains in New Zealand, the entire economy is mostly depending upon the dairy industry. राइट अभी एक इकोनॉमी का भी कुछ एस्पेक्ट पढ़ा होगा तुमने, इंडिया ने पार्टिसिपेट नहीं किया डेयरी इंडस्ट्री के कारण, RCEP, राइट, उसमें क्या प्रॉब्लम है, न्यूजीलैंड के साथ ही तो प्रॉब्लम था, राइट, वन थिंग. सेकंड इज दीज आर द स्टेपे ग्रासलैंड्स एंड दीज आर द प्लेसेस वेयर horses will be found because horses are depending upon the grasses. That's what gave them the advantage in the past. That's why ये जो सेंट्रल पार्ट ऑफ रीजन है, वहां से सेंट्रल एशिया का जो रीजन है, वहां से सारे इन्वेडर्स आए. Why these invaders came from those parts only? Because they had the advantage of chariots. They had the advantage of these horses because of the geographical location they are living in. That's what made them make them the advantage कि वो जाएं और दुनिया को invade करें. That's what the aspect of steppe is. And these are the regions where majorly you will find, if the grasses are nutritious, the soil is nutritious, presence of water and sunlight is also adequate, then definitely these regions will be converted to what? Converted to the agricultural lands. In the northern part of America, the entire steppe, the prairie land, has been converted for the cultivation of wheat and maize. Wheat and maize cultivation, large scale extensive agriculture is done in these steppe grasslands. And the kind of extensive agriculture, we always termed this extensive agriculture as, let's say if we talk about extensive agriculture, जहां पे होगा क्या, what is the difference between the intensive and extensive agriculture? Can you please guys enlighten me with that? What is intensive agriculture? What is extensive agriculture? बहुत सवाल आते हैं एग्रीकल्चर पे आजकल. Widespread. Anything else? See, understand. मेरे को नहीं पता, तुम्हें नहीं पता. Intensive agriculture is that agriculture which is followed and found in those regions where the land is comparatively less and the people who are dependent on the land is large, such as in India, China, Bangladesh, Pakistan. This is the region where intensive agriculture is done. Now understand why. Because if per capita land is less, then and dependency on this land is of large number of people, then definitely they will have to grow the crop intensively. For the intensification of the crop, they will use the hell lot of fertilizers. They will use the large amount of water, particularly to increase the productivity of the land, so that the entire जो भी production होगा वो sufficient हो सके इस population के लिए. So intensive agriculture is always characterized with one thing, that is, in intensive agriculture, the productivity per unit land is high, but productivity per unit labor is less. Productivity per unit labor is less, but per unit land is high. Per unit labor is less. Why? Because the land is small. If land is small, you cannot use machineries there. Mechanization की पहली सबसे prerequisite है land size का ज्यादा होना. Why is it so? Why? सिंपल सा फंडा है, छोटा लैंड, कम प्रोडक्शन, कम बेनिफिट से मशीन आती नहीं. Always remember, farmer plows back their profit to the field in the form of different aspects. But to plow back the benefit, they must have the profit. But I have told you one thing, that the dependency on this land is of large number of people. So the surplus will be comparatively less. If surplus will be less, benefit will be less, no plowing back of profit, it means mechanization is not there. If mechanization is not there, you can certainly see one thing, that productivity per unit land will be high, productivity per unit labor will be less, because घर के सारे लोग काम पे लगे होंगे, जिसको तुम disguised unemployment कहते हो. कनेक्ट होता है. नेक्स्ट इज द एक्सटेंसिव एग्रीकल्चर. Extensive agriculture is that type of agriculture where you will see the large land size is available. Large land size is available, but dependency on this land for the crop is comparatively of less number of people. So what they will do is, वो इतना intensively fertilizers का use नहीं करेंगे. Rather what they will do is, they will try to utilize the natural productivity of the soil to grow the entire crop. For that, I can say extensive agriculture can be characterized with the less productivity per unit land, but high productivity per unit labor. And now tell me where you will find the more production. I'm talking about productivity. One comparison is productivity per unit land. In intensive is high, extensive is less. Productivity per unit labor in intensive is less, extensive is high. But what about production? Overall production will be high in extensive. No. Land size is more. Land size is more, so overall production will be high. अभी तो बोला इंटेंसिव में लैंड साइज इतना छोटा है कि सरप्लस विल बी वेरी वेरी लेस. तो एक 10 हेक्टर की लैंड पे मैंने यूज कर लिए जम के फर्टिलाइजर, प्रोडक्शन इंक्रीज हुआ. आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट द एक्सटेंसिव एग्रीकल्चर और इंटेंसिव का कंपैरिजन, जहां पे प्रेरी के लैंड पे हम आज तक वहां के बराबर नहीं पहुंच सकते जितना वहां पे प्रोडक्शन होता है वीट का. जितना वीट का प्रोडक्शन वहां पे होता है ना, वहां तक अभी भी नहीं पहुंच सकते हैं, बिकॉज ऑफ द लैंड साइज. बिकॉज ऑफ द लैंड साइज. सो ओवरऑल प्रोडक्शन विल बी कंपैरेटिवली large in the extensive agriculture, right? So this is how we have seen one type of ecosystem, that is terrestrial ecosystem के दोनों grasslands. Tomorrow when we'll meet, we'll start with the forest and then deserts and the aquatic ecosystem, and then we will carry. Thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow. Speed के साथ कोई issue नहीं है. Done? Because within 10 days, if we want to cover the static, I'll have to be at this space. Otherwise, there will be certain things that might be missed. I don't want to miss anything in the program. That's why I'll be at this space only, right? Thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow at 2:30.